G'day, hello, welcome, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Are you a GarageBand iOS user on your iPad or your iPhone, or are you, as I like to say, GarageBand curious? Do you want to know more about GarageBand and how to use it on your iPhone or your iPad? Well, you have come to the right place and the right video, because this live streaming event, I will be taking you through some of the frequently asked questions, the tips, the tricks, the hacks, the facts about GarageBand iOS, this amazing application that we have, this free digital audio workstation. Yeah, you can download it onto your iPad or your iPhone for free, and then you can use it, a 32-track digital recorder to record your songs, to record your podcasts, to record your video audio. There are 101 uses, and we're going to get to a lot of those in this video today. If it's your first time here, hello, my name is Pete, and this is Studio Live Today, where my goal, my passion, my purpose is to help you create, record, and release your best music. And I do a lot of creating on mobile. So using GarageBand on my mobile phone, on my iPad, is one of the best things I like. Since I discovered this a few years ago, I've been using it almost exclusively, because what I can do with GarageBand is I can sit down wherever I am and I can create music. And I know a lot of you folks that already use it do the same thing. You create your music, you can then take it with you on the go, you can come back into the studio, and then you can hook it up to all of your normal studio gear. You can just use your Lightning to USB cable, you can hook everything up. We're going to talk about a lot of this sort of stuff here today on this particular show, but I thought I would take you through what we are actually going to do, because we've got a lot to get through. We've got a lot of time here today as well, but for those of you that are in a hurry, if you're watching on the replay and you're like, Pete, I'd like to try GarageBand, but I just want to get to the point. What are you going to show me here today? Well, I've got a few things to go through. I'm going to tell you what you can't do, and that might seem like a funny thing, but I get a lot of questions saying, hey, can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this? So I want to make it really clear what's not possible, but I'm going to give you some of the tips and tricks and workarounds that can actually make those things work. So we're going to go through that to start with. I've then got some demonstrations for you. So I have my iPhone down here. It'll be on the screen. Fingers crossed, technology plays nicely, and I'll actually be showing you some of those sort of things. And then, most importantly, for those that are here on the live stream, if you have questions about GarageBand on your iPhone or your iPad as we go along, I want you to throw those questions down in the chat, and I will revisit that chat as we go through. And if there are any questions, we will answer those as we go, because GarageBand is amazing. It's one of the best creation platforms, as I've said, but it does have a slightly steep learning curve. So when you first start out, if you're brand new to GarageBand, you'll open it up and you'll be like, what do I do here? I can create 8 bars of a song. Is that all I can do, really? Well, no, you can create an entire song. You've got a whole library of instruments and loops and everything else that you can use. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to get started. If you're just starting out, are you an intermediate user? Are you an expert user? You'll probably still find something of value here, and you will be able to contribute as well, because do I know everything? Heck no. I don't know everything about GarageBand. I learn as much from you folks as you hopefully learn from me in these videos. And some of the questions you ask inspire me to go out and learn even more. So keep the questions coming. Keep the conversation happening. And even if you're watching here on the replay, you haven't missed out. So you can just come straight back here and ask me questions down in the comments. So pop a question in the comments. So if you do find this sort of content valuable, I'd appreciate it if you share it with other people. Anyone else that you think might benefit from this sort of video, make sure you can share it. If you do get value out of the show today, I'd love you to leave a like. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, well, I have videos every day at the moment, at least every second day, but almost every day we've got a new video all about mobile creation and creating here in GarageBand, as well as some other songwriting and other videos that I put out there. So without any further ado, let's jump in and talk about GarageBand, shall we? We'll jump into my notes here. So why I'm starting with what can't you do is because, like most things, GarageBand has a few limitations. There's some things that you can't actually do, but also, like most things, there's ways around it. There's ways and means to actually get things done. So here are the top 10 things that folks ask me that you can't do, and then I'm going to tell you how we can work around and get it done. So can you change the tempo in GarageBand on your iPhone or your iPad? Well, no, you can't. You set your tempo, and then you're using just that one tempo. But we can do a few little things to change things up. The same goes for the key signature. Can we change key signature and use multiple keys? No, we can't, but are there ways around that? Yeah, there are, and we're going to show you a couple of those later in the video as well, because where there's a will, there's a way, right? A question I get asked a lot is, can you view the tracks view while recording an instrument? So I'll show you what we mean about this a bit later. But what this basically means is when you're recording in GarageBand, your display is just the instrument you're using. And if you have a two-channel interface, which I'll be showing you in this video, then you can actually do something where you're recording two tracks at once and you're viewing it on your track window. It's very cool. It's a good little workaround there. How can you view it? Can you actually view the song in minutes and seconds instead of bars? No, unfortunately you can't. You're stuck with the bars, but I will show you a little bit about how we use sections and how we can use the sections here in GarageBand to get stuff done. You can't name your sections either, unfortunately, which is something that we would love to see. Apple, if you're watching, let us name our sections. That would be cool. We don't have a master bus in GarageBand. However, there's ways around that as well. There's a little trick, a little hack that I'm going to show you today, which is using the FX function, of all things, to create a master fader for your volume. It's very cool, and we'll be showing it here today if you haven't already seen that. Automation is very cool in GarageBand, but it's only on volume. So how do we automate things like panning? How do we automate our effects? We'll be able to do that, and I'll show you a little bit about that as well. It requires a few little workarounds. Again, it may sound like everything you have to do in GarageBand is hard. It's really not. In fact, it's because it's so simple, and because the interface is simple and because it's easy to do, it just means that if you're doing these more complicated things that I know that a lot of you folks like to do, then you need to just play around with it and have some fun. We're going to talk importing and exporting of audio files and of our projects and things. A lot of folks want to import and export directly to things like YouTube and Facebook. We can do that, but again, we need to just sort of use either iMovie or some other applications that can help us do that. And we'll talk about that. And the one thing that people want to do is transferring of files. And this is something that trips people up because they get a Lightning to USB adapter and they want to just plug in their USB flash drives and then transfer files. Well, you can't do that unless you have something like the SanDisk iExpand, which I recently reviewed, which is a very cool little USB drive that is iOS compatible, or you use something like Audio Share and the very cool Wi-Fi drive on Audio Share, which we'll talk about a bit later on as well. So that's just a little bit of a rundown of some of the things that we'll be talking about and some of the problems, I guess, that I'll be hoping to help you solve. Because all of these things, they may seem like challenges or barriers, and you're like, I want to just be able to do the thing I want to do. And we can do it. And yeah, once you've actually worked through the whole getting to know GarageBand, getting to know the interface, getting familiar, then you want to do these more advanced and intermediate things, then that's what we will be talking about today. But we'll also be showing some of the more simple features in GarageBand in case you are just getting started and you're already overwhelmed saying, Pete, I want to just get started. It's my first time. No worries. We are going to break it down. So there'll be something in this for everyone, for your beginner, your intermediate, and even, hopefully, some of the more expert among you. So I just need a little sip with my product placement coffee mug here, and I'm on my second coffee, which is why I start talking a little bit faster when the caffeine flows. So if I do talk too fast, if you're on the live chat, just say, slow down, Pete. We've got an hour. We've got plenty of time here to talk through this. So let's jump over and say hello to the kind folks who have joined me in the live chat and see if we have any questions, because this is a live Q&A after all. So if there's questions, I'm going to try and answer them. And if you are going to ask a question, you can do me a favor and just put Q or question or something in the description or in the text there. It's going to help me find it a lot better. So who do we have here today? We've got Mr. Pete Kim. We've got Jeremy Ray Williams. Hello to you. Goth Demon, how are you doing today? Kevin Bursell says, hello, kiddies. Hello to you too. We've got Clearly Epic, which is my buddy Steve. We've got David M here. Amaracia, great to see you there, my friend. Gussie Wells, hi Pete, how are you? I am well, and I still haven't done that video about recording guitar. Maybe I have a guitar right here. Maybe we'll do it later in the stream. So Gussie wanted me to do a video showing recording using a mic and miking up an amp in GarageBand. Can be done. It's very cool. Maybe we'll get to that. Oh, we've got a lot of things. So Tommy David says faster. Wants me to read things faster, perhaps. And yeah, so we've got Gay Tony. We've got sorry, there's a few messages saying they're being held for review. Yeah, so okay. Some people are trying to say some things that the filter is filtering out. So that is fine. We'll just need to do a little bit of maintenance here. We're going to just have to hide this user. All right, there we go. So that is solved. You won't see any of those sort of things. So let's get on with the show. So take your time, Pete. Making the video, hopefully, not actually that. Righty, let's jump in and start looking at how we can actually use GarageBand here on our iPhone. So I'm going to carefully load up my screen here. I've got GarageBand running here. I'm going to share it over to my desktop. This is where things, I always say this on live streams, you're either going to get like this really slick, like perfect show that's going to be really useful, or you get to see a train wreck. And either way, it'll probably be fun. So that is what we're going to be doing here today. Let us bring this one up. Alrighty. If all goes well, I should be able to press this button and bingo, you see my screen there. And, oh, then it went away. That's not so bingo. Let's try this one again. Screen mirroring. No, it's not. There we go. It's coming back. It's back. All right. We are good. We have my GarageBand screen. Technology is playing nicely. Let's just pop this down here so that you can see it around my giant head. And there we go. So we're here in GarageBand. Now, the first thing that I'm going to talk about, so I'm gonna go a little bit random, a little bit around the place. So when we have questions here, we'll sort of deviate and jump around the place. But what I thought I'd start with is for those that are new to GarageBand, I'm going to show you how I set up a new document. So how do I create a new song here in GarageBand? What do I do? What are the steps? Well, let's go all the way out of here. We'll go all the way back to GarageBand here. Now, GarageBand has a bunch of different locations. So a lot of you already know this. And the two primary ones are your iCloud Drive, which is here, and iCloud Drive and GarageBand for iOS. Now, the beauty of iCloud Drive is that all of these songs are stored on the cloud. Now, the ones that have the little down cloud icon there, those are ones that I don't have on this device. But if I wanted them on the device, like if I want this theme song to be on my device, I just tap on it and it's going to start downloading. So it'll download that directly to my device, and now it'll pop up and there it goes. So it's ready to now be played. And if I hit play, it's going to play. Now I'm realizing it's playing through AirPlay, so I'm just going to unplug and quickly plug back in because I want it to actually play through my mixer. And that's just one of my little theme music. So yeah, the good thing about GarageBand, if you're making theme music for a podcast, for any of your YouTube videos, very easy to make your own theme music. Little hack there if you didn't know that already. Alrighty, let's jump on back. We'll go back to my songs here. So that's sort of the iCloud Drive. Now, iCloud Drive's good, but there's a lot of uploading and downloading that goes on. So you can see here now it's uploading that back to the cloud because it says you've made some changes. I didn't really, but it uploads a different version. This is very cool for collaborating as well. So if you're collaborating with other users on GarageBand projects, you can use this and they can open the tracks. Once it's uploaded to iCloud, you can share that and other people can open it. I've got a video all about how to use it. Just search Pete Johns collaboration and you'll be able to see how to collaborate on your projects. What I like to do, however, is if we go all the way back to locations, I like to use on my iPhone and the GarageBand folder here. The reason for that, and you can see here I use it for storing my videos and things as well there. The reason that I use on my iPhone instead of the iCloud is that sometimes I don't want things to be constantly uploading and downloading. I just want it to be stored on my device. And yeah, you have to be careful if you delete things or if you lose things. But I like just working on that one device. But it's completely personal choice. I just happen to have pretty terrible internet most of the time, so I don't want it to be constantly uploading and downloading. You can see here, if I've got files like these two, like this is two of my songs from my album from last year, Selfish Aware, For the Birds and Lucky. One's 1.9 gig and the other one's 1.38 gigabytes. So if they're constantly sort of uploading and downloading different content, it's going to slow down my whole internet connection. So we will get to those and we'll take a look at those when I show some other things. But we're talking about setting up a new project here in GarageBand. So what we're going to do is we're going to tap Create Document. And the first thing that I always do is just tap an audio recorder track just to, yes, we've got a device connected. We're going to monitor. We're going to go out here to our track view. And this is kind of the what I like to do first is set up everything in my track view for my song. Now, if I've already written the song, what I'll do is I'll set up all my sections as well and the tempo and everything else. But if I'm just kind of jamming on something, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to start setting up with my tempo, with my key signature first and foremost. So let's do that now. We're going to tap on the spanner icon here in the top right, and this brings us into this screen here where we can, let's work a tempo to start with. So I want to record something that's a little bit kicking along. So let's go do. I like to tap in my tempo. We can just tap along like that. Yeah, about 134. Let's go 134 today and hit done. And so that's going to be my tempo in there. And then if I'm just jamming on something, I'll come in here to my section. And this is the key. Like a lot of people say, oh, I started using GarageBand, but you can only do 8 bars. And what's going on with that? Well, no. You come into your sections here. I'll show you that again. We tap on the little plus button right up here in the top right. And we come into our song sections. Now what we can do from here is we can tap on this first section and we can tap and hold and drag up and get like a whole bunch of bars or drag down. You can tap the one by one, but it takes a very long time. Or we can just go automatic. So we'll just tap on automatic there and go done. And this is kind of the first thing that I usually do in terms of setting up to record a track, because I usually record like an acoustic guitar riff or an electric guitar riff or something like that. And that's the first thing that I want to kind of record in there. Now, if I know the key signature, I'm going to come back into here and I'm going to go to the key signature as well. And I'm going to put, let's just use E major, shall we? I like to write in E major. A bit of a guitar player's key signature. If you don't know about key signatures, don't stress too much, because if we're using virtual instruments, which we'll show you in a little while, it really doesn't matter. In fact, let's show you that right now. So let's just pretend, well, let's not pretend, let's create a song. Let's lay down a bass line. Because I don't have my guitar plugged in yet, I'll do that soon. We're going to tap the add button down here in the bottom left. And let's go to our virtual bass, because we can play that using just the screen here. And we're going to come to virtual bass and we're going to tap on the smart bass here. Now this is going to open up the smart bass here, and you'll notice that the chords that we have across the top here are the chords from our key signature. So E, EAD, or EAD are the chords, like the major chords, the 1, 4, 5 chord of our E major. Now, the cool thing is that if you don't know much about, like already, this isn't our bass guitar, they're all of the notes that are in sort of that E major chord and then the A major chord. So we can just play along here, and we know that if we want it to be in that chord, we can just tap the notes there. But something even cooler, let's use our autoplay. So let's scroll this one around. Let's randomly choose autoplay 3 on this bass, and I don't actually mind just that. Like, it sounds a little bit like Flash, that Queen song. So let's just record a random bass pattern with a random chord pattern here and just create something here today. Why not? So to record, all I need to do is hit the record button, and then as I tap each one of these, it's going to play that. Now, I know a lot of you already know this stuff. I promise we'll get to the more intermediate and advanced stuff as we go along, but we just want to lay down some fundamentals here, because there might be folks that are brand new to GarageBand and just wanted to show you how easy it is to get started and to start creating a track. And you'll see by the end of this song, we've got something pretty cool together. So let's hit record on this one now. So I've used B major for some reason. We're going to use this for like 4 bars, and then I'm going to tap E. For 4 bars. Then I've gone up to A. And then I'm going to go back to E. And then I've got D, A, E. So that was a bit weird. I accidentally hit B to start with, but this is okay. We're just going to get a little bit of an interesting chord progression going on here. And I've realized that there's some serious lag and delay going on between my phone and the screen here using AirPlay. So this could be a little bit interesting. There might be a little bit of delay here going on. Okay, it's not too bad now. Just didn't like all of those flashing lights and things that were happening there, but it seems to be okay. So here's our bass line laid down now. So I've turned off my metronome, and now from here, we can just start layering up. So the beauty part of the instruments that we have here is let's just tap add. Let's just throw drums on here by tapping on our drummer. And by default, it's just going to give us Logan here playing his AM Gold. Let's hit play and see what Logan sounds like. I don't mind that at all. We're going to go with that. So we've got Logan there, and we've got our bass, and then we can just start adding in other instruments. So if we want some keyboard sounds, we can come into the keyboard sounds here, and then we can play, or we can tap on our chord strips button in the top right, and we can play whole chords here. And the reason I'm rushing through a lot of this is that if you want to learn about all of this stuff, I've got a playlist of videos called the GarageBand Quick Jams. So that's more than 60 videos at the moment, and it's growing every week. But that takes you through every different instrument that we have here and every different feature of GarageBand. So we've done keyboard, bass, drums, guitars, how to do automation, how to do everything that you can think of in GarageBand, we're covered. So I'm not going to give you a complete in-depth thing. I just wanted to show you a little bit about how cool GarageBand can actually be. So let's just change this piano to a bit of a classic rock organ sound here. So let's just add in a little bit of an organ sound to this one now. We'll hit record. We got them wrong, but that's okay because we're going to show you a little bit about editing a little bit later on. So we're going to leave that as it is for now because I kind of forgot what my chords were actually doing there. But here's the power of GarageBand, right? Multi-tracking. And so far, all we've used is virtual instruments. All that we've used here is just the instruments that come shipped with GarageBand. We've got a bass, we've got a drums, we've got an organ track, and already it's sounding pretty good. I'd probably turn this organ down a little bit, which we'll be doing as we go along and as we mix. So, like I say, I love GarageBand. I love that I can just start laying down some ideas here, and we'll probably use this as a bit of a basis for our track. So we're going to tap here. We'll go back to My Songs. Now, don't do like me and leave everything as My Song. Let's rename this one. Let's call this Rockin' Organ. Sounds bad, doesn't it? Demo. Oh dear, I'm gonna get some fun comments for that one. The Rockin' Organ Demo. All right, so that is all good, and yeah, so that's sort of our start. We've got that done there. We'll just go back to date order here. So there you go. There's our latest track. It's 2.9 meg at the moment because it's just those virtual instruments, and we're ready to go. So that is how we can quickly get up and running. If I press the right button here, quickly get up and running with GarageBand, how I start off a new project. And as I said, it does vary from time to time. Sometimes I've already written the song and I'll have my guitar, I'll have already played it out, and then I'll just record a whole guitar track, and then I'll layer these instruments over the top. Or sometimes I'll just play around like that, get a few riffs going on, and then see how we go from there. Either way you do it, it is fine. You have that flexibility. Let's jump over and see if we have any questions at this stage, and then we'll continue on playing around with this track. Alrighty, we've got lots of chat going on here. I'm just trying to. So Steve Kirby, glad I caught you live. Glad you are here, Steve. Excellent. Amaracia applied a ton of stuff I've learned to my last upload. Excellent. And I have been checking out, so Amaracia does some great music, some great tunes. So check their music out. And Tommy David says, your projects seem big in volume. How so? So how do you do? Sorry, your projects seem big in volume. How so? So in terms of the volume of the songs that I actually release, how do I get them to be loud, or the actual finished product? Maybe just clarify that, because I'm just not sure if you're talking about the volume that I'm sort of exporting right now in the live stream, which is hopefully not too loud, or the actual volume I'm getting from the tracks when I'm sort of mixing and mastering, because I've got some advice around that. It's mostly around sort of compression and limiting, most of which I do in the mastering stage, which we'll talk a little bit about later. Gussie Wells says, how to move in the GarageBand timeline your own audio. How to move in the GarageBand timeline your own audio. I'm not understanding the questions too well. Maybe I need more coffee. Let's try that. So yeah, maybe try and rephrase that one as well. So we've got Jesus or Jesus Ramos. Hi all, what a pity, just found this. How often do you do this, Pete? I do this every week, but it's been a bit variable. I'm trying to get a regular weekly routine going along. The Gussie again says, when importing your own audio from GarageBand to iMovie, I cannot move the track around in the timeline. I have no ability to choose where the audio is placed in the timeline. Gotcha. Yeah. So exporting to iMovie. Maybe we'll do a little bit on that. Let me add that to my notes here, and we'll talk a little bit as we go through, because I do have exporting. So we'll do exporting to iMovie. Now, what I do is I actually use an application called LumaFusion, which is a video editor that is like iMovie but on steroids. It is iMovie Plus, and it lets you create a whole layers of tracks, so 3 audio tracks, 3 video tracks, and you can really precisely line them up. What you have to do in iMovie, and I'll just give you the answer now, and then I'll try and show you later, is that you need to actually, it's really quite annoying, you need to kind of do a little cut and then delete that part, and then it will shift everything across and it will line it up. So what I tend to do is I put my video and my audio, I see where that starts, and then I try to remove as much as I think as I need to. And it's a bit of trial and error. It's a bit of a pain in the butt, but it can be done. But yeah, it's not so easy. So Clearly Epic says, so what makes a song so big on memory? I notice my songs are small files until I export them as a wave into a clean track, and then it's 60 to 100 meg. Yeah, so in terms of the size of the file, maybe that's what, oh no, big in volume. Yeah, in terms of file size, it's really determined by how many virtual instruments versus audio tracks you have. So let's show you an example. So this rocking organ demo is only 3 meg because it's only got virtual instruments. So all it's storing is MIDI data, and then it's referencing those audio files that are stored in GarageBand. So it doesn't have to store the actual audio. If I compare that to something like For the Birds, which is 1.9 gigabytes, then you can see here that I've got 2 guitars there, I've got another 3 guitars there, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, many audio tracks for all of my vocals. And each one of these stores the full high resolution WAV file of that audio file in the actual project. So in terms of why they get so large, that is the reason why, and that's why your files will get large. If you're creating projects like the one we had before, like this one, as Steve was saying there, it will be larger in file size once you export it as a WAV file, because that is actually mixing it down into a WAV file that can be played back on any device. So then it doesn't refer back to the audio file saved in GarageBand. It has to basically export all of those. So it has to play back and render it in real time, and then you can actually play it back from there. So that's why you find that if you are composing mostly with virtual instruments, you'll have really small project sizes and be surprised at how big they get. If, like me, you use a lot of external instruments and use an external audio interface and microphones and guitars, you're going to have big project files that will smoosh down into smaller WAV files when you're actually done, because you don't have to have all of those different tracks separately. They're all mixed down into one stereo track. So that hopefully helps you understand that. Alrighty. Let's see what we have here. I had an issue with the 6-bar default. I couldn't figure out it at first, but yeah, now I can set it to automatic. Yes, and it's I did an interview the other day, and the person interviewing me said, so when I try GarageBand, I go in there, and then I don't know how to get past the 8 bars. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I think my next video, in fact, is going to be, in fact, it is. I've recorded it. This shows how much I remember, is how to get past the 8 bars. So a lot of people just create 8-bar loops, and they're like, now what do I do? So until you know about the sections, and seriously, like, it's hidden right under that little plus sign. Like, how much less convenient could it be than to have to find this little tiny plus up in the corner? It's not in your settings. It's not in, your tempo and your time signature where you think it would be. You have to go into that little tiny section, and then you have to learn how to use all of these song sections. And if it's on automatic, like, until you turn that off, you don't actually know that you can duplicate sections and do other things. So yeah, it's a little bit painful. It would be good if that was front and center, like almost in a big button that's like, add more, give me more GarageBand goodness. But yeah, we don't have that right now. So Steve Kirby, it could be a good idea to set up and save a template song with all the sections already marked out. Maybe use the custom drummer loops to label intro, verse, chorus, etc. Yeah, really good point. So I did talk about sections and that you can't name your sections, but what you can do is you can use the drummer loops, which we'll show you. Let's show you now while we're doing it. The beauty part of doing a live stream here is we can show you things as we go. And if you're watching on the replay, we will get to more of the other content, but you might be finding this interesting anyway, because these are the questions that the folks here live have, and they're probably the questions you'll have as well. So what, who was it? It was Steve that was talking about is the fact that we can use drummer loops. So up here on the right, we've got our Apple loops. So let's tap on Apple loops. And then if we go instruments and we go all drums, and if we scroll down here, these blue ones are our standard audio loops, but we've also got these yellow ones as well as green ones. So what he was suggesting is maybe you could use, say you wanted to use Anders, you could tap on Anders' intro here and drag him across, put him on a fresh track here, and then that would be, say, the intro. And then if we tap and drag that off, say that was my intro. Oh, there you go, Anders. So that was my intro. Then I wanted to jump into like a verse. I could just grab Anders, wrong way. Grab Anders' verse and drag that in and pop that straight there afterwards. In fact, let's replace that. Let's mute Logan and let's see if this sounds anywhere near decent. It does, but you know what? I kind of kick in there. So let's just bring Anders back like that. So I wasn't really going to be doing this, but you know what? If we just play around with this as we go along, by the end of this, we might have a nice little ditty. I might have like a little song or a song idea that we started recording. So why not? Let's keep going with this. So yeah, so that's how you can use that, and that way you could just see this. So even though we can't name these sections at the top here, you can kind of do ad hoc naming by using your drummer loops there. So there you go. You've learned another thing about drummer loops and the difference between drummer loops and regular loops and our audio loops as well. The other one, while we're here talking loops, let's just show you the other one. So the other one we have, actually, are there any drums that are this? No, probably not. We'll tap all drums there and we'll tap that and get rid of it. We have these green ones. So the 70s rock ballad piano, if we drag this one in, this is actually going to add it to a new track. We'll just solo it. So this adds like a MIDI file that we can then actually edit. So it's not adding the audio file like the other loops, so like the blue loops that you'll often see. It's adding MIDI. So if we play this one, and because it's a loop, it's not going to be in the right key that we're using, but we can change and manipulate that around if we wanted to. The other type of loops are these blue ones. So if we throw the 80s synth bass in here, and we'll just solo that one, you can see here that these are actually just the audio file. So this is just a 4-bar loop of this audio file. And so these can't be manipulated. So you can't change the keys or you can't change the notes that these are playing. Whereas in these ones, you can. And then in these ones, they're actually a drummer track. So you can tap your drummer here and you can actually go in and change the settings that the drummer's actually using. So it's a pretty cool way. You've got a bunch of different options and ways to use things in GarageBand. And again, if you are new to GarageBand and this is all going a little bit too intense, don't stress out. You can trial and error is your best friend. And if trial and error fades, studiolivetoday.com and check out the videos over there, because I've covered most of the topics here on GarageBand. And if there's one I haven't covered, then drop a comment in the description and say, Pete, can you cover this? And like I say, that's how most of my videos come about, is from folks suggesting things from the videos that I've already done. So there you go. I'll mute those tracks. Otherwise, when we play that back, it's going to sound a bit weird, isn't it? Right. Let's just see if we've got any other questions before we move on. I have a big question. How do you use 808s? Well, yeah, we have 808s in a few things in our beat sequencer, which we'll get to and we'll show in a little bit. And we've got 808 samples as well. So the song I'm sort of creating here is a bit more of a poppy type song anyway, but maybe we can implement some 808s in here. But you know what? You go to your loops, you search 808, go to your beat sequencer, find the 808 kit. In fact, let's show you. There's no point me saying, oh, we'll get back to that, because you know what? I get sidetracked and then I don't. So let's do this now. So if we wanted to add, let's have a plus here. Now, if we go to the drums here, we can actually go to the beat sequencer. So if we wanted to create a beat and we wanted to use something like an 808 style, we can do this. If we tap in the top left here, now if you're on an iPad, it'll be right in the middle. You just tap on that button in the middle. It's already on the modern 808. So we've got a 808 and a 909 that are part of our new, I can't remember what that was that came out. But anyway, we can use those. You got a whole bunch of other ones here that we can use. What was it called? Was it recently added? Beat sequencer? No, I don't know. Anyway, well, now I've lost it. There was none of these. Oh, there we go. So you got the 808 flex in the flex and flow. So let's try this one. So there you go. You got that classic 808 style kick that's going on there, and then we can just like randomize the patterns, try to find something different, or we can actually set a predefined pattern here. Let's go with like a old school jam. There you go. There's that 808 kicking. And then what we can do, if we just sort of turn that off for a moment, we can tap in any of these spots. We can add in different elements as we go along. So you can get a really cool beat really, really quickly with GarageBand using an 808 or any other style. You can do this with your rock drummers. You can use this with any other type of beat. A good way to start a song. If you're a rapper or if you want to start making beats, start with a beat sequence and then you can start layering loops. You can layer sounds. You can do things. So I've got a video about the beat sequencer. If you search Pete Johns beat sequencer in your YouTubes and your Googles, you'll come across that one. And that will show you all these different functions. There's a heap of cool things you can do with velocity, with the steps, with a bunch of different things there. So yeah, I hope that helped you out if you're looking to get that cool 808 sound in your songs. So Brian Wallington, hello, welcome to you. Thanks once again for all your work. It's now 12:30 in the morning, so he's off to bed. Yeah, fair enough, Brian. Absolutely. Yes, and must check out LumaFusion. Yes, definitely. Alrighty. So is the one that asked you for something about the Rolly Lightpad. Oh, I'm the one that is the one that asked about the Rolly Lightpad block and piano. Yeah, so the Rolly, I don't use any of the Rolly stuff. I walked through the Apple Store yesterday and I was looking at all the Rolly stuff and I'm like, man, it looks really cool, but it's so pricey. It's so expensive. I just can't quite justify going down that track. But maybe one day, let's come back over here. Maybe one day I will start using, or maybe I'll reach out to the Rolly and say, hey, you want to send me some stuff? Or my people want to check it out. Alrighty, let us move on. I don't think we saw any other. Oh, yeah, we did have another question. In the beginning of my recording, only 8 bars. Oh, yeah. So we're talking about that. How can I fade a part of a song higher to lower, then going back to higher? How can I fade part of a song? Yes. So SB, hello to you. And how can you fade a song? Yeah, so there's a couple of ways to fade. And again, if you search Pete Johns fade, you're going to find videos all about this. So if after this you want to get more information, you can go and do that. But let's show you a couple of ways that we can do this here. So we'll go back to my view over here. Now, I don't know why we'd want to do this, but just for fun, let's use this organ part, right? So you saw that I turned it down. So obviously we can turn down the volume. Let's just play back our track. So say we wanted to. I don't know why we'd want to do that. Now, Anders, you're going a bit nuts there, buddy. In fact, we're going to switch off Anders. Let's go back to our original Logan. So the key to fading in GarageBand is automation. So this is one of the things I wanted to cover anyway, because it's one of the questions I get asked all the time is how do I automate in GarageBand? How do I make the volume fade out, fade back in, go louder, go softer? It's all about automation. And once you learn about automation, if you don't already use it, it's going to kind of change your world. I know that Steve, who's over on the GarageBand users Facebook group, uses automation, and when he started using it, found it amazing. A bunch of other people that I show this to or that see my videos are like, wow, that's cool. I need to use that. So how do we automate? We tap on the logo here, the little logo of the instrument. So we're doing it for this organ and we tap on automation. Now, a little warning about automation. I do automation as the very last point because as soon as we turn automation on and we add automation points, our volume can only be controlled from automation. I think it was Amaracia, who's here on the stream that I was talking about this with recently, who said, yeah, that's a good advice because he, like me, has done this before where you go and you do all your automation and then you're like, oh, I just want it a little bit louder. And you're like, oh man, I've got to go back and change all of these automation points. So do your automation towards the end, unless you're using it for like an effect or something like that. So let's say for some reason we wanted this organ here. Whoops, tapped on the wrong thing. We wanted this organ here to fade down in these first 4 bars and then fade back up again. Well, what we need to do is let's tap the automation button here, the little white one down here. Oh, we're on the wrong track now. Come back to this one. There we go. And now what we need to do is we need to turn on in the top left here, and this turns on our automation points. And now if we tap here on the track, we can actually add these points. As you can see there, I've added them in completely the wrong spot, but I'll show you how we can do this. So let's turn that off now in the top left there. We just slide that slider over, just so that we don't add new ones. And now we can grab and move these sliders. So let's move this right to here. And you can see that when we hold our finger down, it gives us the current volume. So let's say we want this volume to go down all the way to either nothing, or let's just say really low. Like, let's just turn the volume down to that. And then we'll tap on this point here. This is good actually. I can look on the screen instead of down. That way I can actually see what I'm doing. in more detail and pop it there. So what this organ's now going to do, now we can hit done to go out of automation mode. What this organ's now going to do is it's going to start, watch the volume fader. It's going to start at that volume, it's going to fade down, and then it's going to fade back up again. So let's just solo it so you can hear it. Hear it starting. Watch the volume fader. Goes down. And then I want to bring it back into our mix. Here it comes back up again. Right back up to our volume. Now, why you want to do this last is because of exactly this reason. Now, if I try and drag this, see it's gone yellow, I can't, that's saying as automation has been applied, you can't use the volume fader. The reason for that is that it doesn't know how high or how low you've made those automation points. If I tell it to turn the volume down, it could be trying to put it into negative, or the same, if I turn it up, it could be trying to put it over the maximum volume. So yeah, once you've used your automation, there's no going back. Now, for some reason, I put it on Logan here as well. So let's just go automation. If we want to delete the automation, we just need to tap the little button there. And you see it's gone back to white. That means automation is now off for Logan. We can hit done. And now the only automation is on this organ. Man, this track's going to sound weird by the end because I'm using it as kind of a little sketch pad for all of these ideas and all these things. So yeah, so that's how we can use automation. There is a track fade out option as well, which I never use. So it's up here somewhere. Yep, there it is. So you can fade out, which just arbitrarily fades out the last couple of bars of your song. I don't use it. I use automation so that I've got that pinpoint accuracy of where I want things to fade out. So hopefully that helps you out. Now, let's cover the other parts of automation, because I was going to talk about this anyway. I talked about it briefly at the start. So how do we automate things like panning? Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? So what I need to do is we'll need another instrument to show this. So I'll just need to add in some sort of synth sound. Let's come here and we'll go to our keyboard. Oh, where's that? Here we go. So let's go to the Alchemy synth. And what's sort of an interesting sort of pad or something that we can do? Not the epic cloud formation. I don't like that one. We'll go down here to our, are we in Alchemy? Main categories. Yeah, we're in Alchemy. We want a pad. Do I like the Autumn Haze? I think this is kind of cool. So we start with our B. Yeah, let's do something like this. It might not quite work for the track, but again, yeah, we'll just see how we go. And maybe we'll do it further down. Let's go down to... And try not to hit the B flat. All right, let's record this. Okay, we'll just do the 8 bars because you don't need to see a screen with a man holding his finger down on a key for a while. So there you go. It's just that one note. I just moved it up and down to create that modulation effect. So if we just sort of play this back by itself. So sounding okay for now. Now, I could do the automation trick that I just did, and I could automate just the volume, but what if I wanted to say pan automate this? So what if I wanted to go from the left, go to the right, come back to the left? Well, I can actually do that by creating another track. So all I need to do is tap and go duplicate. Now, duplicating a track in GarageBand doesn't duplicate the audio. I know, it should. I don't know why. So we also now have to tap, copy that audio, tap down here, tap again, and paste. So now we've got 2 copies of this track. If we just play it now, it's just going to be double as loud, right? Not much good. But if we use, and you might be ahead of me on this, if we use our automation in a fancy way, we can come in here. Let's turn on automation, bonk, and turn it on here. Let's tap a point, add some automation like this, and we'll do the same on this track, like that. We'll turn it off again. So what we'll do is let's make this one, oops, whoops, we've selected 2 points there. We'll drag that point to track 5 or bar 5, and we'll drop the volume down on that side. And then we'll scroll down here and we'll do the opposite here. So we'll need to add another point at the end there, like that. And then let's start this one at a low volume. We'll then bring it up. Whoop, bring it up gently and carefully. Oh, there we go. Just that one, please. There we go. All right. So here we go. We've got inverse volume automation curves on these 2 tracks. So now, if we go done, the final thing I need to do is set my panning. So let's set this one to panning left. Let's set this one to panning right. And now let's play this back and see what sort of effect we get. So if you're listening on stereo speakers or headphones, you should have heard that start on the right. I think that's where I had it with the higher volume to start with. And then, actually, have I got my... Yeah. So I've got my thing plugged in the wrong way around, which is really useful. Good job, Pete. You've got like one thing to get right. You've got a 50-50 chance and you get it wrong. Anyway, what it should be doing is going left to right. It's going right to left just because of the way I've got it plugged through my mixer at the moment. But it's a way to create some cool stereo panning effects. And the other thing you can do with this is if you wanted a particular effect on this, so you can go nuts with this. Let's duplicate again. And yeah, it's duplicated. It's duplicated our volume automation. We didn't actually want that, so I should have. This is why you do automation at the end, right? We'll tap that. Let's turn automation off of this new track we've created. Go away, automation. Nobody likes you. All right. So now if we copy this audio again, let's copy it and let's paste it into here. And we'll solo that one. If we wanted to, say, put a funky kind of effect on here, let's go to plugins and EQ, and we'll edit this. And let's put like a bit crusher effect. So a bit crusher is going to make this sound a little bit weird. It's going to sound like this. There we go. So we'll do it like that. So that's going to be our bit crusher effect. We'll turn the volume up there. We'll try it again. So it's already sounding pretty cool because it's using that. But what we can actually do is then we can add automation to say when we want this effect to come in. So let's say that we only want this effect, this bit crusher, to be really loud at the start. We want it to fade all the way out right at the end. So this is how we can automate an effect here in GarageBand. So there we go. And we'll get just these three tracks together now. And what you'll hear is at the start, the bit crusher effect will be really loud and then it will tail off as it does its stereo pan. This is next level stuff here. And in fact, we've left this track over there. So if we have this in the middle, it will probably sound a little better. So if you're into your synth music, your composing, anything that you want to do, like this is cool. Like, yes, you're using 3 additional tracks here, so you are going to quickly run out of tracks, and you're going to be able to merge those together, which I'm going to show you in a minute. See, it's all segues. One thing moves to another. We're going to work through and we're going to learn a bunch about GarageBand here. Stuff you'll already know, I know, but some things that hopefully you're learning just new here today that you're going to take away. And I want to see your music. I want you to share your music with me and show me what you're producing using GarageBand, because it is a very cool platform. All right, let's jump back over here. We'll see if we've got any other questions that have come in the meantime. All right. Gonna have to scroll back up here. How can I fade out? Yeah, we've talked about fading, so we've talked automation. And Marcia says 90% of the time spent my last song was just adding automation. You can go nuts with it. I'll show you a song where I went nuts with it a bit later. I could use automation to do a cymbal swells without using the merge function and reversing the wave. Yep, I start the sound after the cymbal crash and bring the volume up quickly. Yeah, very cool. Very cool ways to use volume and to use automation, absolutely. Can I connect my piano wirelessly to GarageBand and record MIDI to it? To GarageBand, I mean? Yes, you can. You need... So here's the thing. So there's a couple of things that you can use for that. There are wireless MIDI devices where you can connect them up and then you can connect wireless. You can use Bluetooth. There's Bluetooth MIDI devices, and the new, so I've got the Nano keys. I've got the Korg Nano keys, Micro Key, not Nano, Micro Key 49 here. The new versions are the Micro Key Air, which are a Bluetooth version of these. They're more expensive, and the problem you're going to have with wireless is latency. So we'll talk latency here for a minute because it always comes up. It's a key question. Latency or lag is the delay between when you press a key on a keyboard here and that key actually playing back. So you heard me say that I've got a bit of lag on the screen, which I do at the moment from my iPhone to what you're seeing. That's because the latency of the internet connection. Now, the latency of the Bluetooth connection means that I'll play a C chord, I'll hit the C chord, and it might be a few milliseconds. And we're not talking like seconds. It's not going to be, but it's going to be, like it's very light. So depending on the type of music you're doing, latency may not be a problem. And you can use quantization in GarageBand to fix it afterwards. In fact, why don't we, let's do a little bit of MIDI recording now. So I'm going to set up, I've got my Korg micro key here. If you want to see more about setting these up, I'm not going to go into detail about my setup here because I did an entire live stream on connecting USB devices. And I did that a couple of weeks ago, so you can check that out. I'll try to remember to link to that in the description. But for now, what I'm going to do, so you asked about wireless, but I use wired. And you know what? All you need to use for your wireless keyboard is a USB A to B cable like this one. And I've got my USB hub set up over here, which means that I've got 4 ports ready to go that anything I can plug into, it's going to accept. So all I need to do is plug this one into here, into my Korg. Is this the right cable? Yes, it is. Just the wrong way around. Into my Korg micro key. And then the other end goes into my USB hub. And it should automatically recognize that I have this installed and power on, which it has. There's a little light there. So if you're using the Bluetooth version, it'd be exactly the same, except you would just connect it via Bluetooth. So you go to your Bluetooth settings and then you connect it, and then GarageBand would recognize that you have a MIDI keyboard. Now, if we can use the power of things working to make this work live, it is working live. Excellent. So I'm going to go here. Let's change this one back. Now let's record a bit of I always love a little bit of electric piano. So I love recording some electric piano sounds. They're always a really cool pad. Sorry, I'm going to get a bit off mic here. So let's record a little bit of electric piano. No, it's got to be higher, doesn't it? So let's see if this will go along with our track. So if we go back to our track view, and we're going to leave this effect in. Yeah, let's leave it in. Let's see what it sounds like. This could sound terrible. What have we got? Oh, we've got some muted stuff. We've got something soloed here still. Yeah, there we go. There you go. Now you'll notice that I'm playing the notes here, but it's not playing until I'm actually in. Now, a lot of people have asked, why can't I just play my keyboard, especially when you've got a MIDI keyboard plugged in, while it's not there? Like, it doesn't make sense that you can't actually view that. You have to view the keyboard. Yeah, unfortunately for your MIDI instruments, you have to actually be in the instrument and you have to play it in this view. So all you see is that bit up the top. You can't see the rest of the track. So now we can actually play. So let's hit record and record in a little MIDI part here. Okay, so yeah, that was all the wrong chords and all the wrong things, but you know what? This is going to give us some cool editing to do. So there you go, it's recorded that straight in, so it's recorded my electric piano sound in. I am going to mute these. It was a cool effect, but it doesn't really fit the song, and it was quite distracting. So if I play back now, there's my electric piano. You know what? You haven't seen any of that because I was on the wrong view. You were just seeing the top of my hat as I leant over awkwardly playing this. So sorry about that. So what I was doing is, in fact, let's do it again because you didn't get to see it. Sorry about that. This is where I need that production assistant that can just sit there and do all my switching for me. So let's just come in and try that one again. We'll go back to our record mode. Okay, I played it even worse that time, but that's okay. There we go. That is in and good, and you can actually see it this time. So there's our chord, there's our keys. We have played that in. So back to the original question. Yes, you could do exactly the same thing if you had one of the micro key Airs, which are a Bluetooth, or any other Bluetooth MIDI keyboard. As long as it supports Bluetooth, your iPhone or your iPad will be able to see it and will be able to use it by default, just out of the box. Is that cool? So there you go. I'll pop the Korg down for a moment. And the beauty part is, sorry, I'm off mic again. Let's bring it back over here so you can actually hear what I'm saying. The beauty part is that with the USB hub, so a powered USB hub, buy one now. Go to studiolivetoday.com/gear or just go and find one in a shop or whatever. I like the Anchor ones from Amazon because they're cheap and available and reliable. But any type you get, as long as it has a power plug. So you need to be able to plug it into your AC power and then plug your devices in through that using your Lightning to USB. It means that you can just plug and play. So I've still got my Steinberg UR12 down here connected. You can't see it. As well, which is what all the audio is going through. So the output of the audio is going from that. I can now plug in guitars and microphones, which I'm going to do in a minute because I'm going to show you some cool things about that. So we can actually record that at the same time as your Midi and you have all your stuff connected. I just have everything connected. When you're in your home studio, you might as well have it all hooked up and be powering everything at the same time. Everything's happy. Everything's cool. Alrighty, so let's just go back and see if we had other questions. Sorry, it's telling me my stream quality is bad, so if you're seeing some dropouts, I apologize for that. I'm pushing things to the limit. Sorry for the repeat question and sorry for my English. Is there any way to avoid noise when cutting and pasting audio tracks? When joining several cuts, I hear a click between them. Yeah, so automation can help with that. Which we'll show in a little while. I'll record some audio tracks and then we'll do a little bit of editing with them. Remind me when we get to that of how to do it, because we are going to talk about noise and hiss when we get to recording actual things like outside instruments, which we're going to do in a little while. So yeah, hold the line for that one. Nova Cascade, hello, welcome to you. Welcome. Latency is the enemy. Yes, it is, especially if you like to be really precise. Like when I'm playing like a syncopated real piano part in a song, like For the Birds, I think, the one that I'm going to show you in a minute. Yeah, really not fun. Really not fun. Jesus says, my piano is wireless. Just want to record to later after a possible wrong note. Yeah. So you can edit afterwards. Absolutely, you can edit afterwards. And we've got Jose Flores. I want one of those t-shirts. You want one of these t-shirts? Oh, I promise I didn't plant Jose to ask that question. But if you would like a Studio Live t-shirt in stylish black or purple or green or whatever other colors I have there, or a Studio Live Today mug, you can go to studiolivetoday.com/merch. I actually only have the black mugs, which actually look cooler. I got the white one, but the black ones look really, really cool, and the t-shirts as well. And if you do buy those, you'll be helping me out. So people have said, hey, can I throw you a donation? And I'm like, I always accept donations, but if you want to sort of get something as well at the same time, yeah, either go to studiolivetoday.com/gear and buy something, because that helps out the channel, or go to studiolivetoday.com/merch and get yourself some gear. Cold coffee all the way. Sorry, Jesus says, and I can later modify the recordings. Yeah, you absolutely can. So let's do that now, because we're going to show some editing anyway. So yeah, so we've recorded this electric piano track. So let's show a couple of things here. So after you record using Midi, there's going to be some things that you want to do. Now you may want to quantize. So how do we quantize? Well, let's go into our settings here. And if we go to our track settings at the top here, so we'll go back a step. So how do we get to settings? We've done this a few times. The little mixer icon at the top here is how we do that. Now, if you're on a smaller device, a smaller iPhone, it may be in the top right. You may be dropping down a button in the top right up there and then going to this mixer icon. It depends on the size of your screen. This is the iPhone XS, so we do it this way. So what we can do from here, we can go track settings, and we can go quantization. Now, I've got a whole video, in fact, a whole list of videos, playlist of videos on quantization. And yes, it's spelt with an S here in Australia. It's with a Z if you're in, or a Z if you're in the US and other places. But quantization lines your song up on the grid. So at the moment, there is no quantization on. So let's show you what we mean by that. Let's just slide this over. If we tap on this and we tap it again and we tap edit, here we are in edit mode. So what we can see in edit mode is that my notes here are not right on. So if we look at these ones here, you can see I'm a little bit early on that in bar 3, like the notes are not going to be right on the grid. So remember that. I'm going to hit done there. And now if we go over into our quantization, let's now quantize this. So we can quantize to any type of note. So we'll quantize down to, say, the 16th note. Basically, if you go to quarter note, it's only going to play like on beats 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's going to make it really static, and if you put any expression in your playing, it's not going to work. I usually use something around a 16th note or a 32nd note quantization just to line things up a little bit. And what you'll probably see, I can't really see it very well there, but it'll start adjusting that piano sound over here. It looks a lot more visible in the edit window. So here in the edit window now, look at what it's done. So now those that were off the grid before are lined right up on the grid. So if, like Nova Cascade and like other people, you hate the idea of latency and latency is evil, then you can actually use this to line things up on the grid. And if we hit done, if we play this back now, so you can see it goes da da. So it's not sounding as natural. So you give up some natural when you use quantization. But especially if you're doing something like drums or bass or something, you don't really need a whole lot of natural feel. And again, you can come to quantization and make it, a 32nd or a 64th note if you want a little bit more natural feel. Now, the other thing that you can do is manual editing. So if we come back to that edit window, and again, if you search Pete John's MIDI editing or Pete John's MIDI note, you'll be able to find a heap of videos how to do this. By the way, if you're wondering how I'm zooming in and around, I have 2 fingers, I'm spreading them apart to zoom in, I'm pinching together to zoom out. And if you pinch together from the top and bottom, you can actually compress things down. And if you touch with 2 fingers and push up and down, you can come right in and have big, giant, fat notes. So that's how we get around in the edit window here, which is pretty cool. So if we wanted to manually edit these, so say I looked at these ones and I'm like, I like that, but let's just add in a little bit of natural variation. What I can do is I can actually just grab these and just move these around a little bit like that. And I'm like, there you go. There's a little bit of natural variation for you. And now it's going to be slightly off the grid. Or we can do things like, oh, I hit a wrong note. Did I hit any wrong notes? Yeah, I don't like that. And that one shouldn't be there. So we can tap that. We can delete it. And we can just drag these notes around. So that one, I just dragged it up. So you can actually just drag them around and manipulate them that way. So let's hear this back again now. And again, that sort of is like a little bit early. So what about we just go, we can just drag these notes into the right place. And now, and see that one hit a little bit early too. So yeah, so you can just manipulate these and you can edit to your heart's content. You can go nuts with this stuff. So don't spend hours on editing, or you're going to just, drive yourself completely insane. But yeah, you've got all of the control in the world there when it comes to editing your tracks. So I hope that answers your question that yes, you can record in using MIDI, you can use a wireless keyboard if it has wireless Bluetooth, and then you can edit. So if latency is throwing your notes off, then you can use quantization, or you can manually edit those and bring them back to life, which is all good. I'm going to go back to my webcam here because my stream is saying that it's really like crashing and burning here. So we'll just wait for that to come back. It's saying that it's really struggling here. We've hit the 1 hour mark, and I think it's, it's really not liking me doing this. It's gone down to almost 0. We'll see if it comes back online. Yeah, froze for me. I'm just going to say sorry. Thanks. We've got a few technical issues here. We'll get things back up and running, hopefully, in just a few moments. We are still connected. We are still streaming, but it is really laggy and latency prone. So I'm just going to hold on for a moment and see if this comes back to life. Otherwise, we may need to finish up early and then jump back on to complete this another time. So apologies for this. It's a little bit of a bummer, but it's outside of my control sometimes when we have these internet issues. No, there's nothing working here at the moment. Let us, we're coming back to life. We're coming back up. All right, we have our stream back up again here. Apologies for that. That was a bit of a pain. We should be back now. Let me just talk to some folks here. Are we back now? Should be back online. Alrighty, so we will continue on here because it is telling me that everything is now okay. Yes, I did fear that we were going to be pushing things to the absolute limit here with a lot of the stuff that we're going through here because, yeah, I'm streaming my sound, I'm streaming my video, I'm streaming here from GarageBand, and yeah, I'm making my computer and my internet connection a little bit unhappy by all the things that I want it to do. Yep. All right. So we're back to a regular bit rate and we should be back to streaming You may have had a pause and you may still be paused, but hopefully you come back and hopefully it works back online. I think this is telling me that, Pete, keep your streams at an hour. As soon as you go over that hour mark, it tends to get a little bit. Alrighty. So Jesus says it does. Thanks so much, mate. You're welcome. So I'm assuming that was answering your questions about all of your issues with the not issues, your questions around recording MIDI sounds. Let's get back to a couple of these things. I'll continue on because one thing I did want to cover is the problem that we have around noise and hiss and things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in a microphone because the best way to show this is to actually show this. So the number one question I get from people starting out on GarageBand is why is it that when I record, my tracks don't sound clean? They might listen to one of my tracks and they're like, why is it that you don't have any background noise and hiss in your tracks? And why do I have so much noise and hiss in my tracks? Well, it's usually to do with your input gain. And I did a video about this recently. So I'm just swinging this other mic over here and I'm going to plug this one in because this is what we're going to be using. It's usually due to your input gain settings. So what do I mean by that? Well, I'm going to tempt fate and I'm going to open up my screen again here. And let's add a microphone. We're going to come over here. We're going to add an audio recorder track. We're going to go to more sounds and then we're going to go to vocals and let's just add some punchy present vocals in here. Now what you're seeing over there on the left is my input gain. And what you're probably noticing is that it is bouncing around the place. It is getting up there. It is getting really high and it is peaking. Can you see those little ones? And look, I'm not even talking to the microphone. The mic's over here that's plugged in, but it is really, really getting up there. So what can we do about this? Well, we can turn the mic volume down. So we can turn the input gain. So that's what I'm going to do here. I've got a hardware control here. So I've turned the input gain all the way down and now look at where it's going. It's virtually not showing up at all. So what I need to do is I need to slowly dial that up on my actual physical dial until I start getting the sound. Now I'm going to have to bring this mic over. So we're going to bring this here. Testing 1, 2, 3. So there we are. That is about the sound that we want because when we're recording, we don't want it to be peaking and now you might be saying, Pete, I don't have a control. I'm just using my phone or I'm using my headset microphone. What you will have is the ability to move this slider. So you can move this slider up and down and that will be your input